Today we've got a program with two sets of speakers, and I'd like to introduce our first set of speakers. Charlie Connolly and Carolyn Snyder have done some work for Martinsburg and for the real estate business, and have garnered a very interesting recognition for the city about why Martinsburg is one of the best small towns in America to buy a small house. And I happen to believe that. I happen to agree with that. I'd like you to hear from them about what they did and how that came about, what the result is. So if you'll welcome Charlie Connolly and Carolyn Snyder.
Thank you, and thanks for coming to the meeting. I'm Charlie Connolly. I was the owner of Accent Printing and Copy Center for 26 years in downtown Martinsburg. And I was a member of the committee formed by Susan Pritchard of the City Club to compile an application to enter Martinsburg in the This Old House magazine contest to choose the best small towns in America in which to buy an old house. Martinsburg won this distinction for 2010. Other members with me today are Carolyn Snyder of Snyder, Bailey & Associates Realty, and Becky Fry, a retired Berkeley County school teacher who is very knowledgeable about the architectural styles and characteristic features of old homes. The head of the Berkeley County Historical Landmarks Commission, who oversaw the establishment of Martinsburg's 11 National Register historic districts. Upon Susan's direction, Becky and I took on the task of photographing and documenting representative homes in each district that exemplified a variety of architectural styles and time periods. Martinsburg, the gateway to the northern Shenandoah Valley, is located in Berkeley County, one of West Virginia's first settled areas. Scots-Irish, Dutch, English, and Germans moved into the picturesque Shenandoah Valley in the early 1700s. The region was later surveyed by George Washington himself, who continued to have a strong connection with the area during the British, French, and Indian War. More than 250 years of history and culture are reflected in the homes and other structures here. In fact, much of Martinsburg's downtown is relatively unchanged since the 1950s and before. Several scenes in Sweet Dreams, the movie about Patsy Cline, were filmed here for that reason. The city changed hands 56 times during the Civil War. Several homes were used as command headquarters or hospitals. Unlike many other towns in the region and elsewhere, most of these buildings were spared from being burned and survive to this day. Many structures also have connections to the British, French, and Indian War and the Revolution. Because of this, Martinsburg is a mecca for history buffs. It can also be used as a hub for exploration of nearby historic sites in such towns as Harper's Ferry, Charlestown, Shepherdstown, Winchester, Sharpsburg, Hagerstown, Frederick, and Gettysburg. We are only about 80 miles from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. Martinsburg has made a serious commitment to historic preservation. Since 1978, the Berkeley County Historical Society and the Historic Landmarks Commission have been working diligently to research, catalog, publish, restore, and help the community celebrate our architectural heritage. Several adaptive reuse projects attest to this commitment. One of these is the conversion of the Dun & Berkeley Woolen Mill buildings into county offices and into space for the Blue Ridge Community and Technical College. Another is the planned renovation of the former Interwoven Mills buildings into retail space, professional offices, and residences. A third is the unique B&O Railroad complex that was saved from destruction by a dedicated group of volunteers. Because Martinsburg's history dates to the mid-1700s, and since it has generally experienced a genteel prosperity, many architectural styles common in America are found here. The dedicated preservationist or restorer can find anything from modest log homes waiting to be rediscovered beneath layers of siding to a beautiful Georgian mansion. There are several elegant painted lady Victorian townhomes, some gorgeously restored and others just waiting to be revived. Other styles include colonial, federal, Gothic revival, Greek revival, Italianate, Second Empire, Romanesque revival, Queen Anne, High Victorian Gothic, shingle-style lodge, colonial revival, Beaux Arts, neoclassical, classical revival, mission revival, craftsman, Eastlake, and Forest Square. For homes with character and potential, prices start well under $100,000. An already restored 4-bedroom Victorian with a large yard can be acquired for around $250,000. Exceptional properties are worth $1 million or more. Unbelievably, examples of all these can be found within blocks from the heart of downtown. Martinsburg is home to 11 National Register historic districts with approximately 2,000 structures on the National Register of Historic Places. The city boasts a plethora of architecturally and historically important buildings dating from the 1740s to the 1940s. In fact, several architects active in Martinsburg gained notoriety beyond our fair city, among them George D. Whitson, Albert Fink, Clarence L. Harding, and MFR Comstock. With about 17,000 residents, Martinsburg is a friendly community with spectacular natural beauty, good schools, community rail service to Washington, D.C., and superb historic architecture, both commercial and residential. We would like to now show you pictures of maybe 12 homes that we included in our application. This is a representative sampling. We probably sent them 25 or 30 homes altogether. And Becky is going to provide a short description of each of the homes.
Just as an aside, I'm also a state commissioner for the Archives and History Commission in Charleston, and I can tell you that in Charleston they do recognize Martinsburg and the Eastern Panhandle as having had a great resource, especially when Mr. Woods was in charge of the Historical Society, and all of the nominations and the historic districts that Martinsburg has. We are well recognized. With that, Aspen Hall. This is the oldest and most culturally significant house in Martinsburg. The earliest section dates to 1745, with the Georgian block added in 1770. And you can see the large section on the right, that's the Georgian period. Built by Quakers, the exterior stone walls are of locally quarried limestone and are 2 feet thick, with interior walls 3 brick thick. 401 West Ray Street, and I'm speaking about the blue house on the right. This home is possibly the best of federal period frame houses in Martinsburg. It dates to 1800 and is on one of Martinsburg's original lots. It has no architectural peer of this period in the city. 510 South Queen Street, the Robinson Hyde House, an unusual example of a house within a house. The original 1-story colonial stone building can still be found in part of the present basement. A federal period house was built around this early structure. Later additions were in Gothic revival style with the incorporation of numerous stained glass windows. 815 West King Street, commanding view. This large house was begun about 1859 and is an excellent example of a paneled brick Italian villa with tower. 123, 125 West Brook Street, the Carriage Factory. This large, handsome brick Italianate structure has an entrance featuring a beautiful fan light and paneled reveals. There is a bay over the carriage entranceway with an iron balcony and double French doors. 224 Pennsylvania Avenue. This is a 5-bay, 2-story brick dwelling. The fine porch has East Lake style turned post, sawn balustrade, laminated eaves, and geometric sawn post brackets. 404 West Brook Street. This home was built about 1860. It's an excellent example of a federal revival structure, and it also happens to be the location of Snyder Realty. 320 West Brook Street. This impressive 3-level brick home is French Second Empire with interesting square bay windows. 122 North Maple Avenue, another wonderful example of a brick French Second Empire house. This was an earlier house, and the mansard roof with round-headed dormers was added about 1888. 600 South Queen Street, the H.C. Berry House. Begun in 1890, Mr. George Whitson was the architect and builder. 3 bay towers, fine brickwork, and an East Lake style porch contribute to this beautiful Victorian painted lady. 310 West Brook Street, the George Rymeel House. This is another important example of local architect George Whitson. An outstanding Queen Anne house built of brick with numerous bay openings, roof lines, towers, and dormers. And lastly, 224 West King Street, the Eastern Panhandle Innovation Center, or Epicenter. Originally constructed as the YMCA building, it also served as City Hall until 1991, when it was converted to a private residence. Clarence L. Harding, a Martinsburg native, was the architect of this eclectic mission-style period building. It was very hard when Charlie and Carolyn and our committee decided to do this, to narrow down pictures, because we have many, many pictures of many wonderful residences in Martinsburg. We're very fortunate to have these resources, these cultural resources. Thank you.
Carolyn would like to say a few words also.
Hey, I've never been good news. But thank you, Charlie, and thank you. It's been fun working with you, and we certainly want to thank Jeff Molina. Now, if you want somebody to run the railroads, run the town, he is the man. He takes care of everything, checks on everything, makes it work right. And I thank you for your efforts. I know it's a lot in addition to what you do every day. So thank you for that. And to Susan, whose idea it really was, Pritchard and Dave McMasters, who also took a number of our photographs. To me, Charlie, I don't know if you used them.
No, we didn't.
So Charlie and Olivia have given a great discussion here of the aesthetics and the historic values involved in Martinsburg homesteading. I'm one of the owners of Snyder Real Estate, and we've been here for 25 years. And before that, I worked here in Martinsburg for 8 years for Governor Rockefeller, doing economic development, having his office, and working with companies and feasibility studies of people coming into the area. So I'm quite an old hand and know a bit about Martinsburg. But I'd like to share with you today something I find very exciting and talk a little bit about what I see as a great awakening, really, of the beautiful city of Martinsburg. And Martinsburg is a beautiful city. We were really, I think we really need to call more attention to that very fact. It is extraordinary. And over the last few months, I have had just multiple sales from people from the Washington, D.C. area. We had people coming in from Richmond, people from Chicago, and they're purchasing in-town properties. And they're interesting people, IT people, educators, doctors, private business owners, lawyers, musical directors. I feel